So welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes and their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And today I'm delighted we have back with us Ellie Stead, who's the CEO at St Nick's. So Ellie, firstly, thanks so much for spending some more time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself and St Nick's, what you do and how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, so St Nick's is a 24-acre nature reserve, a mile out of York on what used to be a landfill site in the 70s. We have four real core areas of activity. So the first, obviously, is our green corridor, green space team, who manage both the nature reserve, but increasingly green spaces and corridor connections that connect other green spaces and habitats around the wider York area. So we're not just restricted to the reserve itself, albeit we do a lot of work there, a lot of conservation work and a lot of volunteer work, but that's now on a wider basis across York. We've got our waste minimisation team who do residential recycling collections around the city of York in our little electric vehicles and trikes, and we do commercial recycling as well. And 100% of everything that we recycle is recycled within the UK with zero contamination, because we do all the contamination checks at the kerbside. And we have our ecotherapy programme, which helps people with mental health challenges to improve their mental health through nature connectedness. So we have a series of different programmes that involve practical skills, conservation skills. We have willow weaving, and we have a variety of different applications of nature connectedness to help people. And then we have our energy efficiency activities that we do to help people improve their energy efficiency, which again links to our wider environmental and sustainability approach as a charity generally. So we're fairly busy. It's a fairly eclectic mix of activities. And certainly as CEO, it keeps me busy because obviously I've got to cover all the bases and all the different activities. So there's never 2 days that are the same.
Wonderful. No, I can imagine so many things going on. And I was just thinking as you were describing that, I've been lucky enough to be brought up on a farm, and I live in the countryside now. And it's just, for anyone that's not used to getting involved with nature, the countryside, it's as you said, for mental health, it's just a wonderful thing. So obviously, I know there's some of those things you've spoken about today. I don't think you're doing last year, but since we spoke last year, I'm keen to know what has changed for you and the organisation in general.
So for me, and the last time we spoke, I'd just finished at the Yorkshire Air Museum. So I'd come out of private sector. I'd done the 3-month interim there. So I would say I dipped my toe in the kind of physical, tangible, day-to-day experience of kind of running an organisation that was not in private sector. But obviously St Nick's is quite a different environment. And so the last 12 months for me personally has been a continuation of that learning journey, learning and adapting to a very new sector and a new environment. And forging a lot of new relationships and connections, because there are a lot of different partners that we work with at St Nick's. There are a lot of different charities that we work with in partnership as well. So forging, kind of those new bonds and understanding of, how we interconnect or how we can work effectively together. And then again, from a personal perspective, I took the decision to step down from the Divisional Advisory Board at Leeds University. I felt like I'd done my time there, and the longer I was out of private sector, the less value I was able to provide, because the programme is a global business programme. Yep. But I also think that my progression over the last 12 months in this sector has also helped some of my non-exec activity at Yorkshire Housing. I'm now the chair of the Governance and People Committee. So again, good learning and experience for me. From the St Nick's point of view, in terms of what's changed in the last 12 months, a key thing is not just me coming into the frame, but actually a fairly new management team. There's 4 members of the management team, and 2 of them joined 2 weeks before I did. So that was quite a dynamic and a shift for the organisation, for that management team to really bed in, find its feet, get to know each other, and obviously with me coming in as a new CEO, figure out how we all work together effectively. We've done quite a bit of streamlining. Some aspects of how we were working were quite complicated, so we've simplified and got back to, I think, really where our core strengths really lay, and really focused on honing in on some of those and capitalising on those, and probably a greater degree of collaboration. There was a gap, obviously, at St Nick's before I joined where they didn't have a CEO full-time in place. Yes. So developing a great relationship with the Board of Trustees, but developing a really collaborative approach between the different areas who are doing really different things, and kind of building our relationships as part of that management team. So that's been for me and for St Nick's sort of, really key over the last 12 months.
Wonderful, wonderful. To see how things have developed. And what are some of the challenges that have come up during that time?
So when I was at the Air Museum, that's a 7-day-a-week public facing, and the core management team were pretty much full-time, albeit we were covering weekends. The dynamic at St Nick's is quite different because a lot of the teams work different hours. They're not always on site. They're out and about doing recycling rounds, or they're out and about on different green corridor spaces and different projects across York. So actually the alignment of people for me to be able to build presence and be visible as the CEO and build relationships across the whole team was quite a challenge, because you'd never have all the teams in the same place at the same time on the same day of the week. So communication, alignment, and making sure, I had the right amount of time and visibility to spend with all the teams has taken quite a bit of management and a little bit of mindset shift on my part.
Yeah.
I think the other challenge for me is that, I knew that shifting sector and coming into the charity sector was never going to be easy, but I suppose what it is like, you are accountable to your Board of Trustees, absolutely, and again, great relationship with the board, but it's almost like being a self-employed business owner where you've got the accountability for all those people's jobs, pay, job security in particular. And obviously, because as a charity, you're funded by grants and donations, and that landscape is really competitive post-COVID. And, there's a certain degree of pressure and stress, I think, comes with that. It's that accountability, that I have to make it successful as CEO to make sure people continue to be able to have a job with us, as well as the charity progress and deliver all the things that we want it to carry on delivering. What other challenges? Let me think. I've mentioned about building the management team, but that's more of a win, I think. I suppose structures and governance, and it's not that these were lacking at St Nick's, it's more a factor of my background being in risk management, in governance, compliance, audit. So making sure from a governance point of view, all of those moving parts were where I am comfortable with them being, and again, that we've got the records and the repetition of those things that have to happen on a regular basis, all in order, all up to date. So that took a little bit of time, again, just to make sure everything was up to date and consistent with best practice in the charity sector. But I think, those were challenges. I think we've tackled all of them. Brilliant. We've adapted, and I've personally certainly adapted over the course of the year on that.
Great, wonderful. And you obviously mentioned the senior team, and what wins alongside that have you had over the last 12 months?
To be fair, the team have been phenomenal, and we've had far more wins than I think even I could have possibly expected or imagined. They have gone above and beyond, and we've had a flurry of those just in the last week, and we've got a couple of press releases due out next week. Where to start? So funding, we have secured a couple of funding bids. I cannot specify them because they've been embargoed because of the local election process. Hopefully next week we'll be able to confirm those, but those have given a degree of security for the next 2 to 3 years for 2 of our core activities. We've worked really hard on accessibility this year. So about 6 weeks ago, we launched a brand new website. The old website really needed an overhaul, but what we wanted to do was make it more accessible for people with different challenges. So we have an ability on the website for it to flip content into different formats. So it makes it easier to navigate, easier to read. Yep. And it's a much better reflection of who we are and what we do as a charity. Any website over the years evolves and gets extra content. And actually just saying, blank sheet, let's start again, was a great opportunity for the whole management team to work together. And we've had nothing but positive feedback on that. Brilliant. We've had 11 team members do British Sign Language first level training, and we're hoping to get funding to continue that. And just simple things like a handrail all the way up the path, which is a slight incline up to our centre for people with disabilities or mobility issues, has gone down really positively. It's those little things in combination that we've tried to do. We've launched some GPS trails across the reserve. So you can look at these on our website under the Visit Us and Visit Us Virtually section, but we recorded a lot of video and audio content, and they're interactive if you're on site. So whether it's children's activities, mindfulness, whether it's the history of St Nick's, we launched that working in conjunction with a company called C&T. In the last week, we've won an award for Collection Crew of the Year at the Waste and Recycling Excellence Awards, which is fabulous. The Collection Crew and the sponsor are actually going to gift the whole Collection Crew a trip to Bremen in Germany, which was entirely unexpected. Sam Taylor, who manages our waste minimisation team, literally yesterday had just had a place confirmed in the Hot 100 for waste management. She's number 21. So that's great recognition for her, for what she does. And Wednesday morning, it's Friday today, we were confirmed as a finalist in the green category of the BBC Radio Make a Difference Awards. So obviously that's a reflection of people in the community nominating us, which is fabulous. But I think, we've just had a really good year developing and building relationships with key partners like City of York Council. We've done a lot of events to improve our visibility and presence. We mentioned when we spoke last time, a lot of people were not aware of St Nick's, where we are, what we do. I think we've done a lot on that. Yes. And we've tried to make sure that all the team members are engaged and kind of coming along with us on that journey as well. So we've had a lot of wins, actually, especially the last week's just been a complete whirlwind, I have to say.
Wonderful. Yeah, absolutely sounds like it. And one thing I always do in what I do is in coaching businesses, I always ask people how they've celebrated. And I guess how good we are at celebrating is another sort of question that goes alongside that. How have you celebrated, or how will you celebrate, and how good are you as an individual and as a team celebrating those wins?
Yeah, I mean, it's really important. And as I mentioned, because people are kind of out and about, different places, different times of the week, making sure everybody was aware of the different awards, different successes. Some of the ones, because we haven't been able to announce them publicly, we are still to celebrate. But certainly, I think, giving credit where it's due as well, because whether it's the funding bids across different teams, whether it's the awards that we've won, those are different people, different teams, the origination point is different. So making sure that credit across all the teams, the awareness is there. This is why this team has won this award or has been successful in this bid, and well done to whichever member of the management team, submitted that nomination or prepared that proposal, making sure that credit is given and is really, really visible to all staff. We probably have a little bit of work to do, I think, now over the next couple of weeks, making that awareness outside of what we've already put on social media available to all of our volunteer community, to make sure that they're aware of all these successes as well, because they're part of our extended team and we want them to celebrate our success as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it makes absolute sense. And because I mean, one of the reasons for the question is that I often find driven, focused people spend a lot of time focusing on what they haven't achieved yet rather than what they have. And it is so important, and as you've highlighted very well, that need for both our teams especially, but also ourselves, because when we are going through challenging times, and those do happen, it's important that we can fall back on the fact that no, we've done this and we achieved that, and those sorts of things. And looking back on those wins and those challenges, what are some of the learnings that you've drawn out from them?
I think that you do have to pause. It's really easy to get stuck into the next challenge, the next thing, kind of on your list of things to do, or your next sort of strategic aim. Really just taking a bit of time to pause and appreciate the wins.
Yes.
And if it's a challenge, really sitting down collectively and kind of doing a little bit of analysis about, okay, what went well, what do we want to do more of, what didn't go so well, what could we improve, or from feedback that we've received maybe on a funding proposal, where are the areas that were not as strong, and what do we do about that next time? How do we address that? Do we need to change our process? Was it kind of just a little one-off anomaly? So that continuous improvement approach, but making sure that's done on quite a collective basis. We've worked quite hard as a management team to help each other. So the funding proposals we share across the whole team, we all weigh in to provide feedback, because all those second sets of eyes, those different lived experiences, pick out different things before we submit a final proposal. And some of these proposals are really extensive. They're really quite complex. They have a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of content and different angles to cover. So actually working together helps the management team understand each other's activities, challenges. It helps with the potential to see opportunities for collaboration going forward. We've probably done more of that this year, where we've got a couple of teams that have come together, submitted a proposal for funding, and then we've done a piece of work jointly. So yeah, I think not beating yourselves up if something's not gone as well as planned, or something's had a bit of a hiccup. Again, keeping a sense of humour, I mentioned that last time, that's always really important, but just taking a bit of time while things are fresh enough in people's mind to think, okay, we've done really great here, where's a few areas that we can look at differently next time.
Yeah, brilliant. It's quite important because you identified the continuous improvement is not just about what went wrong if it goes wrong, but what went right too. I did some training with a guy called Frank Dick, who's a very senior athletics coach, has been for the last sort of 30 years. And I heard, and one thing he said at one of the sessions I was with him that stuck with me and I found really interesting is, yes, we typically do analyze what went wrong. That's sort of standard, that's sort of that black box thinking, if you like. But what he said was, if we don't know why we won, then it was luck. And it stuck with me is that, yeah, we need to analyze the win as much as the challenge to see what was it and make sure we do more of that. That makes absolute sense. Now, you probably remember last time I like to collect favorite quotes or sayings. I wondered if any come to mind right now. Maybe the same as last time, doesn't matter, but what any particular ones that you use a lot? Don't worry if you don't.
No, I think absolutely. In the context of what's happened to me personally in the last week, having been in a traffic collision, the Danny Kaye one about life's a blank canvas and throw every bit of paint at it that you can, remains truer than ever. From a personal perspective, you never know what each day is going to bring. And for those that you love and cherish, always, make sure that they know how you feel every day, regardless, because, I think I did talk about business continuity last time and getting run over by the proverbial bus. Slightly different circumstances this week, but still the importance of making each moment count, making it count for the right reasons, and making sure that the people, that are the closest and most supportive of that you appreciate them every day. Yeah,
well, very, very well said. And what have you learned about yourself over these last 12 months?
It's still all about the people. That was something that we talked about last time. I think the fundamental difference is, and I've reflected on this a little bit over the last couple of days, so private sector it's about the people, it's about your teams and your team members. Yorkshire Air Museum, it's still about the management team, the team members, the volunteers, but also then the members of the public. But those members of the public are a little bit more transient. You don't necessarily see them on a regular basis. So I suppose for myself, in the context of St Nick's, the people bit is far more personal because you're seeing regular volunteers and participants and engagement, and you're far closer to the coalface on a more regular basis. So you're building, much more, I think intimate's the wrong word, but closer relationships with people that you see on a regular basis, and you see the positive impact of what it is that we do really, really clearly. We've been really fortunate that we've had some of our participants, particularly on our ecotherapy programme, who have been incredibly supportive. They've done video testimonies to help us with our funding proposals, or audio kind of excerpts about what St Nick's means to them and how it makes a difference. And from an emotional point of view, I think I talked last time about your passions and what fuels your soul. It gets you right here. Some of the things that they say, some of the challenges that they've been through, or, from the volunteering point of view, the sense of community and fulfillment that regular engagement on some of our volunteer or conservation or citizen science programs actually deliver. And then on the waste minimisation side, you think, well, that's just a recycling team. They're just picking up, your recycling. But actually the feedback that we have about how our teams engage and make people feel and help educate and understand what to do or what not to do on the recycling front. And for some people that are experiencing loneliness, the recycling crew might be one of a number of, only a small number of interactions they have with people all week. So that even that activity can really make a positive difference in somebody's lives. So charity sector, 12 months on, it's no easy ride, and it's a fairly unique set of pressures and challenges, different to private sector, but no lesser, into just really, really different. But yeah, for me, it's about getting that really individual, really personal sort of feedback about the impact, the positive impact that we are making. It's not a generic thing. It's like it is all about people and individuals. And I suppose that surprised me, the strength and the depth of that in terms of what I've experienced over the last 12 months. It's far more than I had hoped for. Well, but yeah, it gets you right here.
Lovely. That's great to hear. It really, really is. And yeah, looking forward a little bit, what does the future look like for you guys, and what challenges might you face, if any?
Next big challenge, and it's going to be 2-3 years duration. Our environment centre was built 20 years ago next year. At the time, it was leading edge. The charity has changed massively over 20 years, and the building itself needs a retrofit. We don't have enough space, and we don't have enough of the right type of space for some of the activities we're doing now. So potentially building an extension, retrofitting the existing centre, being mindful of the environmental impact of that. So, knocking it down and building it again, not an option, because there's a huge amount of embodied carbon in the building. But really the funding, the planning, the consultation with our communities and team about what we do and how we do it, and the logistics of carrying everything on while we do that is absolutely massive. So lots to think about, very different types of funding proposals and applications. We are hopeful of working with some partners on that, to help facilitate that process, but it's not going to be a small undertaking. We've got to go into it with our eyes open. And yeah, I can't underestimate either the complexity or certainly the cost, because the cost of living, certainly from a building point of view, has risen. We did have some plans drawn up pre-COVID for this, but COVID actually changed the nature of the way the building was used. So we do need to refresh those, and reconsult to hopefully make that happen. But yeah, that's my next massive challenge, and not just this year, kind of multi-year program that I'm going to be tackling with the management team.
Yes, I can imagine that's quite a project to work on it. And you know, alongside that, are there any other any sort of new initiatives that you'll be launching over this next year that people should be looking out for?
I mentioned we're going to try and continue with our British Sign Language training. We're applying for funding to different providers to try and do that. We're sponsoring some places on the Yorkshire Marathon, which is mid-October, and we're aligning our autumn fair so that falls the day before the Yorkshire Marathon. So autumn fair, which is our biggest event of the year, will be Saturday the 14th of October. The marathon's on Sunday the 15th. So if anybody out there wants a sponsored place and to run on our behalf, we still have a few places left. Just get in touch with me. The other thing is, because we've got some successful funding in place, our ecotherapy places and programs for which we've had waiting lists and people waiting to come on have now opened up, and we have new opportunities, new availability for anybody interested in that, and the details are on the website. And the same thing with our Green Corridors York programme. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for practical conservation for communities to engage with us, as the funding enables us to take the pilot we'd already done and expand that across a wider basis across York and different parts of York. So very exciting that we can help more people from a mental health point of view, but also that we can engage more people, volunteers across the community, train more citizen scientists. And we've got lots of events coming up over the year, particularly in June. We have a very heavy calendar in June of different events. Again, some of those are already out there. The big community challenge that we're doing in conjunction with University of York and York Cares. But we've got an interesting one called Data Set Dreaming, which is it's a combination of data, art, and ecology and citizen science, and it will be a nighttime event over 3 evenings, mid-June. So that's something kind of new and that we've not done before. So more details hopefully are out on that on a press release next week. We've got a lot of press releases due out next week.
Wonderful. Yes, well, that's very, very exciting times. And Ellie, thank you so much for your time again. And obviously so much gone on and is going on, and it'd be great to again, maybe swing by another 12 months and see how things develop. And for anyone that is interested in contacting you or St Nick's or finding out about some of these events, what's the best way to do so?
If you look at our website, stnicks.org.uk, if you need to email us, info@stnicks.org.uk. All the details are on our website, and we would love you to look at our website because it's great. Or come down, try the GPS trails yourself. The app information is on the website. So yeah, just engage with us. All of our volunteer opportunities are on the website as well, and that's nearly every day of the week, Monday to Friday, and some things at the weekend as well. So if you want to get engaged, come and see us.
Brilliant. Well, I wish you the best of luck with everything that's going on, and as I say, it'd be great to catch up again at some point in the future and just see how things are developed once again. And I hope everything goes well and you obviously recover well from the recent incident. So thanks so much once again.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you.